Hey, this is Ben Solomon, and welcome to this episode of the Techno Leadership Show. In this episode, I want to talk more about creating value in your role. So, whether that's your current role or a role that you're wanting to get into, how can you create value and how can you position that value in anything and everything that you do? So, whether we like self-promotion or not, and most of us tend to not like self-promotion because we just want to get the job done and keep moving on. That's mentality. We just want things to be done, results gotten, and move on. But what does happen in this world where we live with other human beings is that it's not just getting those results that matter, but it's also talking about the results, talking about the benefits of those results on a fairly ongoing basis to keep building up the credibility of what you're saying and what you can deliver is true. And to you, it makes complete sense, like you've already done this. Why do you have to keep proving yourself? But people have a lot of things going on in their lives. There's so much going on that they're not going to remember. And when I say self-promotion, doesn't mean every moment of every day you go and do, oh yeah, look at me, I've done X, Y, Z. No, that's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'm talking more about value creation. And when you've done something, you've created a certain result. Most of the times what happens is you're building the next thing off on top of it. So you can always bring in a story, the narrative around where you started with that particular portion of the holistic value creation that you can create and go, look, as part of this project, I was able to do this, and we managed to keep it under budget. We managed to keep it in the timelines and utilizing the resources that we had and get the results that were promised. Now I'm hoping to do the next stage of the project or the overall roadmap. And for that, we'll need this, and this, and these are the benefits that you get. And we have a tendency to not, highlight that initial thing we've done, blah. We just go, oh, look, this project is going to be this, and this is what is going to happen. In our heads, it's logically a separate project. But there are connections between everything that we do in any organization that builds on itself. And that's something we have to highlight, something we have to, especially if it's gone really well and the end users, leaders can see tangible benefits. Bring it up in your proposals, in your discussions, saying, we can do this project like how we managed to get that done. We'll just need these sort of resources. And it's just touching on successes to kind of just seed people saying, oh, you're someone who can deliver projects as you promise. And that's all it takes. Nothing, it doesn't have to be anything out there, over the top sort of thing. But it's, you have to kind of seed that sort of thing of what you're capable of. You're pretty much having to, in some sense, subtly keep selling yourself as someone who is capable and is bringing value to the organization and is someone who is invaluable in your role, whatever that might be. And when that is highlighted again and again and again, and people, especially in your managers and others in the higher leadership positions, see you in that positive light consistently, when an opportunity arises, you become that go-to person who goes, why don't we pick that person? Why don't we look for someone within our organization who's proved himself or herself consistently over a period of time as a replacement for this person who's either moving out of the organization or going up further? It's a natural thing. I mean, most companies, most leaders prefer to do an internal promotion basically because they know the quality of the work that these people perform. The only times they don't do that is either when there is an issue with the capacity of the people, they're not yet ready for that step up, or there is no desire for them to step up. I've been in situations where I have people who I personally believed would have been great stepping into the role that I was leaving, but they just didn't have the interest to be in that position, managing people, doing all that sort of thing. And it's their choice. You can't force someone. I don't believe anyone should be forced into a role that they feel is not suitable to them, or they don't want to be in. So those are things to consider and think about. But consistently, the reason you're being employed by any company, any organization, is because they feel there is value that you're adding. And especially if you're not in the front line and you're being seen all the time, you need to find subtle ways to keep showing the people who are paying you that you are invaluable to the company. And I keep seeing that it doesn't happen as much because of our personality types, where we just want to get the job done and keep moving on. And most of us working in technology, especially in IT, where it's either infrastructure or even development side of things, we feel like if fires are not burning and everything is quiet, we're doing our jobs really well. And that is true to a large extent. If you're making sure everything's working fine, is following principles and frameworks, and following all the governance that's required, fantastic. Everything's working and we keep ticking along, and then we try to build and innovate on top of that. But others don't see it that way. They go, oh, what is this person doing sitting in front of their monitor all day, sort of thing. They don't understand that. So you've got to keep saying, we're working on this. Keep, doing that. And if you're someone who's in a leadership position and you have a team behind you who are not always front facing, you have to step up and say, this person's completed this project, or, when there's opportunities to provide kudos to your team, do that on a public basis so that everyone is aware of the contribution of the people who are with you, behind you. And they deserve that as well, to be appreciated, to be known, to be, to be made felt like their contribution is valued. Cool. So, whether you're in a manager's role or in a actual technical engineering role, as I've said in season 1, understanding your strengths is very important. Once you understand your strengths, you can then frame your abilities, your strengths, your experience, your expertise, skills, everything in a fashion that makes you look almost indispensable. And that's what you want to do in that sort of sense. And then know really well, from top to bottom, what your role really needs. Yes, you have to, I personally believe you have to go above and beyond, but ensure the core things that you're being judged on, you're consistently delivering value that your managers and the people above them can see value of. And then have meetings with your manager. Have one-on-ones, have informal, formal chats, and find out what their expectations are. Because sometimes they might think, you're an adult, you should know what your expectations are, what my expectations or what the organization's expectations are of you and your role, and that's it. But there's no harm in you being proactive and going up to them and going, look, I'd love to have a chat with you around, your expectations and how I can continue to be more valuable and take things off your plate. When I was a manager, I would go to my director and go, hey, is there anything else I can do to take more load off you so you can focus on other areas that you have more work in? And that was highly appreciated. They may not have always said that openly, but I could see the weight go off their shoulders when not only did I take things off their plate, but I consistently performed above what they expected me to and got results in those areas, which meant they could take their minds off those areas. That made me invaluable in their eyes and put them at ease, knowing that everything is taken care of, that they did not have to worry about all the aspects of the technology and the people in the team and how service was provided. All of that was covered. Didn't have to worry about it. And then understand the business that you're in. It's not technology. If you're working in an accountancy practice, the accountant services provided, what your business's clients are getting, is what you need to understand. Because when you understand that, you can then provide value that actually tangibly benefits the business. Whether if you're working in an education institution, the end result that they're wanting is students who are taught really well, staff who are satisfied and are less stressed, and the business side of things running securely and effectively. And once you can make this happen, when you understand that these are important things, you can work towards that, and you can tie any funding requests and things like that that you have, or any projects that you want to do, to these outcomes that are tangible to them. It's not about what we think is the best technology to use or the best systems to have or anything like that. It's about providing tangible value to those who pay us and those who pay the bills for the implementation of those projects. You can, have different opinion. That's fine. But this is what has worked in my life and in my career. So that's all I'm sharing. And then knowing what the leadership group of the business that you're working for values. If you're working in a conservative industry, they are probably more valuable, thinking more around security, around safety, around being, safe, around making sure every governance guidelines are met, all regulatory things are met. So that's something that you need to know. And if that is what your business leaders want, then you need to go deep with them to understand what they consider is perfectly functioning technology services, technology stack, all of that. And then work your way through that. And then if and when you need funding for projects to ensure that they meet those values, you can always say, look, based on what you said, I've been able to find this, this, and this. We need to do this to ensure that we meet these specifications or ISO certification requirements, or whatever it might be. And it's all tying back to what they've said, not something that you've pulled out of thin air. And then one of the most important things is also, if you're leading a team, is understanding what, or even if you're working in a team, to understand what your team members value and expect from you. Like if you're in charge of a specific platform, their roles might depend on you getting certain things done in a certain time frame. So that's an expectation that they have. If they put a change management request for a new Active Directory user to be created, for example, they expect it in, let's say, 2 hours. Just say that's an internal expectation SLA that's there. And if you don't get it done in that time and don't communicate that you've got something more important, higher impact sitting on your queue, they think that you're not reliable and you can't get the job done on time. So if that is the case, you need to communicate back with them and say, hey, look, I've got this high impact thing that will, disrupt the whole organization. I'll have to put that on hold. It might be 6 hours or 8 hours before that's done. Is that okay? cool. If they say no, that's fine. It's and then they can communicate with the end user or HR, whoever's put the request in for the new user, on that timeline as well. So these are things like communication of your values, communication around, and then figuring out your strengths, doing as much as possible to work with your strengths and mitigate your weaknesses, utilizing some of these strengths that you have to stay on top, to be unique, and to be invaluable and indispensable to the organization. Those are the main things that make a difference. And when people can visibly see the value that you're creating, you become the go-to person, so to speak, in the organization. People come to you with the right questions, with the right needs, but also when the right opportunities come up, you're top of their mind. So hopefully that's helped you out around how to create value in your role, whether that's your current role or future role. Future roles, obviously, you're looking at what that role requires and utilizing what I've said, figuring out your strengths, understanding what the role requires. Pick up the phone, call the person that's listed on the job advertisement, and find out what their expectations are, how they go about things. Try to understand them, their personality and things like that, what they expect, what the hidden expectations in some sense can be. And then you can marry up your strengths, the requirements of the role, and the expectations of this person, who in most cases they don't, the job description, job advertisement doesn't have the expectations written there. It's almost hidden expectations. So speaking to this person, a potential manager, gives you an idea of what is expected. And then when you write your cover letter, you can cover that so that they know that you've personalized it for the company, for them to provide value. Hopefully that's helped you out and will help you in your career currently and in the next roles that you're looking to apply for. I wish you all the best in your journey as a tech professional, manager, and leader. And if you haven't hit the like button yet, please hit the like button if you like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll continue to produce videos like this. And if you have any questions or comments or feedback, please do leave me a comment below so that I can continue to improve the amount of value that I provide for you here, and also answer questions that you may have that you'd find beneficial in your career growth and in your current career as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Have a fantastic day and see you soon.